Hey, so I ran into some personal shit today, so as a result, I had to set an alarm for myself and wake up early. It is now 2 in the morning, and this is my review of Fatal Attraction. Anyway, Fatal Attraction is a 1987 psychological thriller film directed by Adrian Lynn. It stars Michael Douglas, Glenn Close, and Ann Archer. It went through several rewrites before its ultimate release, and I'm here to discuss it. Anyway, let's start the review. The plot of Fatal Attraction involves a young man named Dan Gallagher, played by Michael Douglas, who has it all: a beautiful wife named Beth, played by Archer, a loving child, and a good job. Nothing can come between it. Nothing except a mistake made by Dan. You see, after a night of drinking, Dan ends up meeting another woman and ends up having an affair with her. To Dan, it was just a fling, but to Alex, played by Glenn Close, the woman he met, it was a lot more. Because now, she will not let Michael go, let Dan go, and proceeds to make his life hell when she starts to stalk him. She wants him for herself, and she won't let anyone get in her way, not even Dan's family. Now, Dan must focus on keeping the affair a secret from his family, while at the same time trying to save them from the unstable hands of Alex. Obviously, the way I describe this plot makes the husband sound like an unfaithful cheat, and while that did take me out of the movie, I will say that one, it didn't mean anything to Dan, and two, he actually does end up regretting his decision later, so he does end up going through some character growth. Also, this premise, while it's not so original anymore, it was pretty new at the time. The only other film I can think of to ever come out before this that involved obsessive stalking was Play Misty for me from Clint Eastwood. Anyway, this premise plays out. The way this premise plays out is pretty suspenseful, since for the most part we just get a lot of unstableness on Alex's part. That it gets to the point where you start to wonder not only what she could do, but what she is capable of. As the film progressed, her behavior got more and more off as her obsession with Dan slowly grew. Anyway, I give plot a B+. Next is acting, and I was fairly impressed. Michael Douglas does a fantastic job of conveying the fear one would go through when not only being stalked, but also trying to hide an affair. You can tell just how panicked his character is not only from the affair he had, but also the fact that now has an obsessive stalker. It really did help me feel a lot more scared for his character, because not only does he later end up regretting the affair, as mentioned before, but because of just how expressive he was when it came to it. He wouldn't just be scared 100% of the time. There were also times where he would just be straight up pissed because of what was happening, which definitely helped bring a sense of realism to the movie. Glenn Close also does a fantastic job, since even though her character's behavior is obsessive, stalking, and illegal, it still is easy to level with her, because not only did she seem like she was lonely, but she also does believe that there is something between her and Dan. But even with this, her behavior did rightfully creep me out. I think that all has to do with the way Glenn Close delivered her lines. She was very insistent with it, since her character was very demanding when it came to Dan. He's all hers and nobody can take that away from her, and shit does her character show it. Because there were times where she would also tell Dan beggingly to not only stay with her, but that she won't be ignored, which only added to her obsession with him, and she does legitimately sound desperate when, Glenn Close says it. Anyway, I give acting an A-. Finally, directing. I love the approach Adrian Lynn took with this film, because in some ways, it reminds me of a Hitchcock film due to the overwhelming amount of suspense that not only built more and more as the film progressed. As mentioned before, not only does Alex's behavior start to become obsessive, but Dan also has to do everything he can when it comes to keeping the affair a secret and possibly ruining his family forever. So that definitely did help with the tension a lot. Also, Alex only starts out as somewhat creepy, so it makes her disturbing behavior later on only more effective, since it slowly starts to show you just how severe her affinity for Dan has truly gotten, and just how dangerous this whole situation truly is. I give directing an A+. Overall, Fatal Attraction is a very intense thrill that will literally have you on edge. It has a very striking premise, a gripping execution, as well as some amazing character development. I will admit, I was admittedly kind of anxious while watching this movie because of how unpredictable Alex's behavior was, as well as how gripping the writing truly was. I highly recommend it, and I give it a B plus, maybe even an A minus. Anyway, thank you for watching. Don't forget to look and sub for more content.